That's what you do. You buy these players that cost money and make a difference in it. But we never do that.
Never complains, gets up, gets on, with a smile on his face.
We just want you to sit in your chair and go, hip hip hooray, for the Western press and the Western narrative, regurgitating the same old, same old, same old, every single day, without the truth. If you haven't seen it before, please watch the first two episodes, the second series, something like that. Stallone.
We are on the site of the castle.
And it was the first time the Beatles had really stopped being semi-professional almost.
Look at that.
Absolutely fascinating.
Good evening, everyone. How are you all? You all right for tonight? Yes, hope so. I hope you are all well. There is so much to talk about, isn't there, really? So much. There's everything going on. Everything. And you wouldn't believe who the warmongers are. And the warmongers are in the EU. Carlyle, the former minister, prime minister or president, whatever she was, of Estonia. Now she's the top diplomat in the EU. She's a Russophobe. She wants 40 billion or something to give to Zelensky. And she was shouted down. They said, no, there's no way. But it's not just one country or two, shall we say, the likes of Orban's Hungary or Slovakia. Spain's joined it. Spain. And Spain, actually, their president, Sanchez, humiliated her. And he more or less said, what kind of a diplomat are you to lead us? Because negotiations are to start to end this war, not to be given them more money to be wasted. And as he turned around, he said, there's no way I'm going to get all these pensions, everything else, healthcare, and take that money away to give to a lost cause. And she had made with him. And he just looked at her, shook his head and walked away, more or less saying, but this is the way it is. This is the way it is in the EU. And there's that stupid woman, Ursula von der Leyen, and what she said, I couldn't believe my ears what she was actually saying about Syria, that the people are great. They're being governed by the right people, and they're going to be living in harmony with freedom of speech. Hasn't she seen footage like I have of beheadings, of people getting pulled out of their homes and being shot in the back of the head? Both men and women, by the way. Hasn't she seen it, Hasn't she seen the ethnic cleansing of Christians? Hasn't she seen it at all? And she's saying that they're going to be living in harmony. I couldn't believe what she was saying. Has she got any idea of what's going on, this woman, and that Kaya Kallas? Have they got any idea? I'd love to know. I just want to know who's feeding them this. But then I was thinking, it's themselves. They're putting out the propaganda for you and I to believe. For you and I to believe. You don't believe it, and I don't believe it. It's just so annoying. It really is. I can't believe anything out of the EU. And then we've got Starmer and Macron. Macron flip-flops, as you know. He agrees, then disagrees, agrees and disagrees. And then Starmer said, yeah, we'll send our troops in. And he said, yeah, oh, yeah, we'll send our troops in. Until Putin came out and went like that, you'll be targets. You will be targets. It's an act of war against Russia if you send troops in. Then Macron backed off again. He flip-flopped again. And then he backed off. Now Starmer is isolated, but he still wants to send our troops there. He's an absolute... I just don't know. I don't know anymore, honestly, about this man, Starmer. I just don't know anything at all. Our Prime Minister, he's taken away everything. You know, I know that people are saying, you know, there's pensioners freezing and everything in the country. You know, he's not giving them any money to heat the homes. He's giving it to Zelensky. Well, I agree with that. I don't mean I agree giving them the money. I agree with what these people are saying about pensions. And he should be also giving it to the NHS. We work for the NHS all our lives. People don't, you know, there's some people who don't realise that. We've been paying into taxes for our healthcare right through our working life. I just, and he knows this. He knows it. Now, Trump, I think he's taken the Michael out of Zelensky, because he said, he said, I want to go in and save the Zaporozhye power plant, nuclear power plant. And when he phoned him up, Zelensky, and was talking about the power plant, Zelensky said, that's all he's ever talking about is the power plant. He's taking the Michael. He knows it's Russia's. And he knows now it's in the Russian Federation. He knows this. So he's just stringing them along. But what I want him to do, what I want Trump to do, at least he's talking. The Biden administration didn't have a word at all with Vladimir Putin. Not one word was exchanged between them. But he's talking to them. He's actually talking to the Russians. He's got envoys in Saudi, you know, talking to the counterparts. Each country talking to each other. Then they had an historical phone call, 2 hours. That's the most anyone's ever been on the phone to a Russian leader. Even a Soviet leader, the longest. And they sorted things out. Now what you've got, Trump came out and said, let's have a ceasefire on energy infrastructure. Now there's Zelensky. He broke that ceasefire. He broke it within hours of it being, okay, we'll have a ceasefire. He broke it within hours, but nothing was done about it. Putin didn't exchange. Now he's just at the gas terminal that feeds Europe. Zelensky, that is. And that's wrong. That is wrong. So something should be done. And if nothing's done with this Zelensky, I'm afraid, you know, that I don't know. He should stop all the arms going to him. That's what he should do. Never mind giving them missiles. He knows on planes. He knows that they'll only be shot down anyway. Trump, that is. He knows that they'll only be shot down. And it's not going to do an inkling of this, where this war's going, for a victory for Russia. It's not going to damage them one bit. Now they're all surrounded in their Kursk, you know, they've taken hundreds of prisoners. And what did you think of that mercenary being captured? A British fella. He was actually captured last November and he's just been given 19 years in jail. Have you seen their jails? I said about 3 years ago, this is before all this SMO, and I was on the, you know, when I was doing my radio, and I said, if anyone has seen the Russian jails, I said, you see the big tough guys in America in their prisons, you know, were walking around with the chests out, you know. I said, they wouldn't last a minute in their jails because it's a terrible regime. It really is a bad regime, those prisons. And that's what this lad, this stupid lad, whatever, you know, a brainwave he had to go over and fight for Ukraine as a mercenary. As a mercenary. But he'd be open to be out in the next couple of years, you know, with a trade or whatever. But Starmer has put paid to that, to be honest. He's a globalist, he's a neocon, this Starmer. He works for the WEF, the World Economic Forum. That's why we're struggling today, to be honest. There's my old mate there. Oh, Myra. Hiya, Myra. Hi, Frank and friends. Hiya. Oh, lovely to see you, Myra. Really is. And there's a great historian. We can't do anything. I'm waiting for this monitor so David and I can do it today. I'm getting it Sunday. Thank God, and we'll be able to do it next week. A brand new monitor. Brand new. And David says, another Zelensky victory. The Verkhovna Rada, Ukraine Parliament. Oh, okay. Don't speak Ukraine. Approved a bill according to which the National Guards will be able to shoot civilians to stop mass unrest. Wow. Are they getting ready for something? Slava Ukraine. I didn't know that. That's new to me. Approved a bill to go and shoot civilians. Because there is, you know, which doesn't come out in the Western press at all, is people protesting against this war. And they have been for a long, long time. This is why Zelensky wouldn't hold any elections last year, because he knew he'd be defeated. Now, don't forget that this fella is actually, he's not taking orders. He did take orders from America, but now he's under the thumb of the Azovs. He's always been under the thumb of the Azovs. And if you don't know who the Azovs are, they are Nazis. They are the ultra-right nationalists of Ukraine, always have been, always will be. And this is one of the reasons why Putin went in. He just didn't go in solely because of the bombings and everything else of the Donbass area and to any other Russian-speaking people. He went in to denazify Ukraine, get rid of them all. That's one of the reasons he went in. And it's shocking. And no one, the EU, for example, they must not, they're not stupid. They must know about all these Azovs. They tried to deny it at first that there wasn't any. I've got them here, I've got them on my phone, to be honest. And Boris Johnson, he even admitted it a couple of weeks ago, didn't he? About the ultra-right, the Nazis. He actually admitted it. Yet, that same fucking hypocrite brought them into our parliament. Remember when they had the flag out? It was a Nazi symbol. And he's having photo ops with them. He's trying to save his bacon, as they say. He's trying to save his own bacon because he's been found out and he's been getting so much flack. But who takes notice of us? Who takes notice of you and me and David Owens and Myra Page and the rest of us? No. We do. We do. That's why this government said any more protests and you could go to jail. Any more protests. Now, that's not just against the migrants that are coming in. It's against everybody. It's against everybody. Any protests. The protest of years ago was long gone. I used to march in the 80s against Thatcher. Don't know why, but I did. I used to just go with them and shout and Thatcher out. You can't do that today. You can't do that. I always remember, someone there was an undergraduate actually calling Thatcher for everything. Don't get me wrong, I was totally against that woman. I was totally against it. I disliked her so much. Anyway, this undergraduate, I was talking to this undergraduate, and he said, "Oh, that Thatcher, I hate her, and all this." And I said, "Is your parents paying for, your fees, your university fees?" He said, "No, I get a grant." I said, "Who's giving you the grant?" He went, I said, "Mrs. Thatcher is." And he didn't know what to say. Stopped him in his tracks. It's just like today. It's just like today. You can stop people in the tracks if you've got any common sense or you know the score, if you know what I mean. Because they're all reading off the same script, all these propagandists, they're all reading off the same script. But now what's changing immensely is the American press. The American press is changing because they're actually calling out Zelensky and they're saying they're being slaughtered. Whereas they were saying, under the Biden administration, the victory's on the way, victory this and victory that. No, sorry, no victory today. It's like the Kursk invasion by Zelensky. And they were saying that all these American press, even our press, were saying, oh, what a great move. What a great move. They're on the way to the nuclear power station in Kursk, the Kursk nuclear power station. Got nowhere near it. And yet, the Russian intelligence knew that they were coming. They just knew. So they decided, let them come in. Then you have the American press and our press saying, that's a great step because they'll have to take all the soldiers off the front line to fight them in the Kursk. And then they could take the Russians then on the front lines. No, never happened. Never happened. Backfired. It just backfired badly on them. Backfired. So this is what you have. And that, what David Owens has said, a bill that's being approved to shoot civilians. Think about that. Think about that. That's what they are like. That's what they are like. See, even the ordinary politicians have got this against their head. And it's by the ultra-nationalists, the Azovs. People are afraid. You've got the opposition who are in jail. The opposition are in jail. I always forget that. I forget this fella's name. I'm not into Russian names, to be honest, or Ukrainian, but they're all Russian names, to be honest. But there's a fella in America, and he wants to fight for the presidency because he knows, he knew, he was one of the advisors to Zelensky. And he went, and he got off, and he's in the States. He's in the States. And he wants to be, he wants to run for the presidency. Forget it. It's just got one of those little mad names. I forget his name, honestly. And he's on the telly now and again. Oh, mine. Myra says, problem. Action solution. USA under Victoria Nuland overthrew Ukraine in 2014. And now America under Trump won peace. The military-industrial complex benefited by the action. Well, that's all they ever do. And what you've got as well, Myra, that's a cracking comment, by the way, like David. See, the likes of David and yourself and everybody else on here know the score. They know what's going on. They don't have to be like told by me, you, or anybody else because they already know. Now, with peace, this war's phasing out. The Ukrainian war is phasing out. Now, it's only what you said there, the military-industrial complex. That's the most important issue here. I'll tell you for why. Every war that goes on, America's involved. America is involved. They start all the wars. There was a post on, I don't go on Facebook much, and I was just scrolling down for something. And there's a poster, someone put a post up and said about Israeli is the enemy of the world. But it's America as well. Because America, unfortunately, is under the thumb of Israel. This is why the whole of the Middle East is destabilized. Because Israel wants all that land in the Middle East. They want to go from the river to the sea. I'll be talking about the Houthis a bit later on. But I just want to get this out the way about the military complex. And what it is, and the war in Ukraine, which is, it's coming to an end. You know that, I know that. It's coming to a conclusion, a final conclusion. So what do America do? What do America do? Well, you've only got to look now. They're going to turn their attention, to me, it's a crazy attention, to be honest, at China. They're looking at China. But they're looking more closely at Iran. More closely at Iran. So the military complex is still going to flourish with orders, with lots of money, billions going into the military complexes. And who's the military complexes in America? Well, Congress, they're getting well weighed off with lots of dosh, lots of money. That's it. That's it. And then what you've got also, besides Iran, is the war with China. Now, okay, let's take Iran first. Now, Iran, if Trump went in to start a war with them, I'm going to tell you what's happened. And they've been warned this, by the way. They have supersonic missiles. And where they're pointed at? They're pointed at Qatar. They're pointed at Saudi. And they're pointed at all these oil-given nations, but also at the Iron Dome in Israel. And if they start that, they're just going to press the button. And what will happen? All the oil refineries will be obliterated for years. And that will stop the wheels from turning around. Like that. Stop everything. That's what will happen. That's what will happen. And that's the unfortunate thing. But he'll still keep around. The neocons in America have been wanting a war with Iran for years. Why? Can anybody tell me why? Can anybody tell me why under the Biden administration and everybody else, all the presidents before, wanted to go to war with Russia? Can you tell me why Obama, dismissed Russia, the Russian Federation, out of the G8 to make it the G7? Why did he get rid of it? You see, every single war, the seeds are sown years before. Years before. Believe you me. Why do we hate Russia? I don't hate Russia. It's done nothing to me. China's done nothing to me. I've got some good things from China. That comes through, made in China. Oh, okay. What these done for me? I like a Chinese meal. So what's China done? What's Iran done? People think it's a backward country. Do yourselves a favour and stream Iran. It's fantastic. It really is fantastic. Like you get how can I put this? You get the image which we've always have been always had done, an image of, say, Serbia, not Serbia, I'm sorry, Siberia, and you think that it's an outward post where they send prisoners and gulags are there. Prisons are there, by the way. That's where they do go. That's where that lad will go. That's where that lad, that British mercenary, he'll ends up there in one of the prisons in Siberia. I don't know why I keep saying Serbia. But anyway, that's where he ends up. But I streamed it. I've been streaming it for a long time now. But only a little town in Serbia. And it's great. You just see the ordinary people, you know, you see the little kids playing out. You see the parents looking after them. You see kids from little children to sixth formers going to school to sit in the uniforms. You just see everyday people. Then I started to stream the cities. Unbelievable. Just try and stream Serbia's cities. They're incredible. Unbelievable. Honestly, I love architecture. And Mr. David Owens will tell you that. I know my architecture. I even know who built the Galleria in Milan. Manfredo Manfredi. That's the architect. So I know me business about architecture. I really do. From different designs. From like Georgian upwards to modern. I don't like modern day architecture, but you see some, it's absolutely fantastic. Excuse me. I think Maria, that Kaya Callas is getting older and calling me forever. Excuse me. I'll have to answer you later, mate. Sorry. I don't think he knows that or not. Oh, but it's the Red Bear joins us. Hi, Mary, he says. So you see what Siberia is all about. Do you think it's a backward country? No, it's not. It's a thriving metropolis all over. And they've got some fantastic, like, out in the sticks, if you like, valleys, everything. Valleys, the old kit and caboodle. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful, but freezing. Hot in the summer, freezing in the winter. And no central heating in those jails either. The central heating in the summer. Myra says, you ask why these politicians are funded by AIPAC lobbyists. Yes or no? And now they have to do the bidding on behalf of Israel. They are Israel. Loads of them. AIPAC. You see, I've always said, if there be no America, there be no wars. And Israel would just be sitting, nodding their heads. That's what they'd be doing, nodding their heads, if you know what I mean. If there be no America. Without America, those 7 million Israelis in the country wouldn't stand a chance. Another country I don't trust is Turkey. Erdogan's Turkey. I do not trust Erdogan at all. Do not trust him. Are you Red Bird? And the Red Bird says, problem, action, solution. It's what David Icke always says. Has anybody ever seen him? He predicted loads. And I'm talking about years ago, and it's all come through. And not all of it, but most of it came through. Like tsunamis, for example, hitting certain places. He said years ago, he said a tsunami will hit a nuclear power station in Japan. And, the weather and it did. And nearly caused a catastrophe around the South China Seas. Catastrophic. It was, if you can remember it. So you're right there, Red Bird. I'm right. So right. But when you look at America and what Trump wants to do, see, people think that he's changing his mind all the time. He's not. He's got to get these people off his back, and that's the deep state. So he's just going along, yeah, okay, this is what I'll do. And then gives arms to Ukraine, knowing that they're not going to be any good for them. He knows that he'll just be shut down or whatever by the Russians. But I think, if you agree or not, what Putin should do is get it over with immediately. That's why he went to Kursk the week before last and said, I want this done immediately. I want them out. I want them out, and it's more or less done now. And I hope he does anyway. I want him to go into Odessa, because they're Russian-speaking people. And they want to join the Russian Federation. They've said that. So what will happen? Will he go in? Or will he ask the people of Odessa? Now, don't forget, the Azovs are still there. So he'll ask them if they want a referendum. He could do it that way, so that no one will interfere. Or he could just go in the hard way and just take it. Landlock Ukraine, and that will be the end of Ukraine. Once that's landlocked, once they can't get at the Black Sea, any of the ports in the Black Sea. But you've got the EU saying they're going to go on the march through Europe. Are these people right? Are these people right to be saying that? They're absolute loot. They're all narcissistic. That's what they are. And they're Starmer trying to be, like a world leader. He's not a world leader. He's a nobody. He's proved it time and time again. And as I said before, the last time I voted, the last election I'm sorry, I've always voted since the age of 18 years of age, always. Every general election, even a by-election if it came by us, I always voted. And I always voted for the same party. Always. Whether it's local or whether it's general. Always the same party. the last election and the last local elections, didn't bother. Didn't bother to vote for the first time in my life. The Redbird. David Icke and his sons have their own show via the internet. Can't recall at the moment, but David is still going strong. I know that he's. I didn't know that he had his own show though. Let's have a look at that actually. You know, people called him a crank, and he wasn't. He's a. I always call them visionaries, to be honest. You know, look, it's like these people, psychics are they? You know, you can see into the future and, you know, whatever. You know, fortune tellers. That's it. Fortune tellers. Now, fortune tellers, I could like give it, if I got 10 people and charged them £100 each, right? Think about it. So them 10 people, I'd give a fortune, and 2 out of 10 will go, oh, it came true. So it'll be, and the others will go, oh, he never had that, you know, roses of him. He never told me my fortune. Not okay, I was waiting for it, whatever. But the other 2 would spread the word. Oh, you want to get down to him or her or whatever. Fantastic. Because people like getting the fortunes told. You do. You do. So you see, as I said, it's like a lot of stuff, to be honest, that people come out with and they try to predict. It's like these politicians, when that SMO started, they tried to predict that Ukraine, believe it or not, at the time, had the strongest army and the biggest army in Europe. And they said they'll take on the Russians. And they always believed what John McCain said, going back to 2014 or whatever. He said Russia's just a gas station. That's all he said. That's all that Russia was, and they believed him. They forget about history. They really do. They forget about history and what the mentality is of the Russians. Their motherland. They're so proud of their motherland. I see the statue of Mother Russia. You see the size of it. You think the Statue of Liberty is big? You want to see this thing? It's massive. Think the Eiffel Tower is big? You want to see this? Mother Russia. That's what they think of it. That's what they think of it. And they love the heroes of the Second World War. They really do. That's why I really believe that. Don't forget that Odessa was Russian. It was Russian. That's why there's still Russian-speaking people there. Not Ukrainian speaking. They're all Russian-speaking people. It was a part of Russia. He threw a hint at me, Putin, when he mentioned Odessa. He hasn't forgotten Odessa. He hasn't forgotten what they did to Catherine the Great, the founder of their Odessa. He hasn't forgotten pulling the statue down, desecrating it. He hasn't forgotten. So there'll be a big change. there will be a massive, massive change in Ukraine. See, people, to be honest, I think the same as the Duma and there's the elderly. What I mean by the elderly, these are all the wise men of politics in Russia. And they said, just go and take Kiev and get this done and over with to Putin. But Putin doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to destroy all the Slavic people there. He doesn't want to do that. And they said, well, you're hated now anyway by the Ukrainians. Just take it and get this done and over with. But he just wants to concentrate on the east, west, south, if you mean, north, south, east, and west, put it that way. And that's where the desert is. I think he'll take it, landlock it, and that's the end of it. That's the end of Ukraine. I'll never trust that Mark Rutte of NATO. NATO's finished. NATO is finished. If you think for 1 minute that Russia, if you think that Russia was just fighting Ukraine, they were fighting NATO. They were fighting mercenary. They were fighting 59 countries. 59, the last count. And they've destroyed them. They have destroyed them. Including the British, by the way, American, you name them, they've all been there. Callum, young Callum. It's all boy Frankie La. Hey, Callum. Amira says, I cannot understand why there is a war in Palestine and to what end. We'll talk about that, to be honest. We'll talk about that. The Redbirds, yes, the Russian people living in Ukraine are treated poorly. They're not treated poorly, they're treated abominably, honestly. It's shocking what they do. Just before the SMO started, you see people, like Russian-speaking fellas, especially the fellas, and they were tied to a lamppost by cling film. Just wrapped around, couldn't move. And it was shocking what they were doing to them. Horrible. Just horrible. Just horrible. So, and don't forget that the people of Donbass were being bombed, shelled, executed. That's what was happening. And Putin warned the West. He says, you've got to do something about this. But even Angela Merkel and Hollande of France, and he was the French president, they came out and said, we only done that so that they could have a big army, dig in, we poke the bear, and they'll come in, the Russians, and they'll be destroyed. No, backfired again. And people say, well, why hasn't Russia taken Ukraine? They must be a poor army, poor, weak army. They're not. They only wanted that portion. But now they've got to look at Odessa. If they don't take Odessa, I'll be very disappointed in Putin. I will. Very disappointed. You know? Know what I mean? But when you think of, as I said, that's going to be all over soon. And now you've got another war machine that's gathering up pace. And that you've only got to look at the Panama Canal and what the other fella said. You've only got to look at the Gulf of Mexico and what the other fella said. This is Trump, by the way. Now you're out when Trudeau was Prime Minister of Canada. He said, I want Canada as the 51st state. So that's another thing to look at. And he said no. And then you've got this Mark Carney, another WEF fella, another globalist who's taken over. He's not even a politician. How can that be? That beggars the question. How can he be a prime minister of a country and he's not even a politician? He's not even. You're supposed to be a member of parliament in Canada to be the prime minister. He's not even that. You remember him as the Bank of England fella, chairman of the Bank of England. Remember? Because I do. Globalist, WEF. So you see who's running the world. Myra said APAC. They're all involved. But he's warned Trump. He said, no, you know. But they will. Telling you now. Then his attention's on as well. Greenland. Now, the Greenlandians, as I've mentioned before, they said, no, we don't want to become part of America. We just want to be sovereign. Then you have Denmark saying, hang on a minute, you know, you can't do that. This belongs to us. You see? So there's where your military complex come into, Myra. So get all these arms just in case. And the stockpiles have gone down anyway, but given all what Biden was given to the Ukrainians, the stockpile is well low. They're making their loads now. Lots of it. Lots and lots of wonderful big bombs, planes, shells, guns, bullets, you name them, they're all making them. Everything. That's the way it is. That's the way the world is. As I said, what's China got to do with America? Thousands of miles away. Well, it's economic, to be honest. They've taken over economically. And the great inventors. You've only got to look at, I don't like saying this, but if you look at the Indians, I don't mean the indigenous Indians of America. I'm talking about the Indian subcontinent. And if you look at the Chinese, they are the most super-brained. That's why India have a nuclear arsenal, nuclear bombs, because they could make it. And they made it. Not just one, they made loads. That's why there's always a standoff between India and Pakistan, because Pakistan's got them as well. And when you look at China, I was watching a film last night, maybe a few years ago, and it was just called Viral. That's all, just a little American picture. And I enjoyed it, but I guess who got the blame? Well, they never got the blame, but it came out, they went, those Chinese must have made this virus. You see, it's always the Chinese. And if there's any mobster going on, mobsters, if it's not political, it's the Russians. Been watching them, John Wick, Russian mobsters. So when you look at the likes of the Ghazians, we're in the 21st century. Now, we grew up, didn't we, about the Holocaust, reading about it, whatever. And we all said, how could that happen? As you get older, when you're a little kid, you don't understand. But as you get older, and you come through your adolescence and into your teens, and your brain starts to function, and you go, that shouldn't happen. Why did that happen? And you think, it couldn't happen again. That's what I always thought. That will never happen again now. We're in the 21st century now, and we're actually witnessing it. It's happening in Gaza. Now, Israel broke the ceasefire because they were blaming the Houthis. Now, the Houthis stopped shelling, and they said, start giving the aid, medical aid and food aid to the people in Gaza, the Palestinians. That's why they stopped it. And they just said no. And they were holding back, knowing that the Houthis would send either drones or missiles to ships that was bringing arms or whatever to Israel, American ships. And that's what happened. And what did they do? Israel, they went and bombed the Palestinians in their tents again. It's just terrible what they're doing. I mentioned Syria, didn't I? And what von der Leyen said, that they live in harmony. She's done nothing about Gaza and the EU. But what's the EU? Under the thumb of America. Now they're terrified that America's not getting them. Well, they're just going to pull out altogether. They haven't done of Ukraine. And let's see how fucking strong they are, the EU, when this campaign of bombing still goes on against the Palestinians by Israel. Let's see them condemn them. Why doesn't Starmer and Macron send troops there on the border of Gaza and Israel for peacekeeping? Why doesn't he do that? Or why don't they do that? You see? Who do you think runs this country? Hey, who do you think the deep state is? Who do you think runs the press? Who do you think runs entertainment? What I'm talking about is plays, is films all around the world. Who runs it? Think about it. And you don't have to think about it, who I'm talking about. That's why. That's why. And as it says, we're witnessing in the 21st century a Holocaust, a genocide. The redbirds, what comes around, go around again and again. What comes around, goes around again and again. I always have my own theory about the Middle East. And it nearly came to fruition, actually, because I always said to my grandmother in 1973, 4 or something like that, I said, if there's another war, it'll start in the Middle East. That's where it'll be. Because I always remember Nixon, President Nixon, putting all his troops around the world on red alert. Because OPEC, they said, you're stealing our oil, you're going to pay X amount of it. And he put them all on red alert. Because America's always been like that for the Europe. They just want all the resources of every country. And that's why, I look at Venezuela today. I think they're a great country. President Maduro, because he's resisted everything that the Americans have thrown at him, sanctions, you name it. They've thrown at him. At their country, Venezuela. So we admire him for that. You've only got to look at the EU and what's happening in Romania. That von der Leyen cancelled elections because this fellow was winning, Carlyle, Georgescu, winning the election by a landslide. He would have won it because he said they're giving no money to Ukraine. What for? Got to look after our own people. I'll give it to them. That's all he said. So she decided to cancel the election. And then he got arrested, didn't he? Then he tried to put his papers in to become president. And he refused it. Loads of demonstrations. And I'm talking about lots of people demonstrating against it. They don't want this fella who's from the lion picked. Who is it? We don't want him. We want Georgescu. The colour revolution's going on now with the American help, obviously. Any colour revolution is America. And they're going on now back in Georgia and Serbia. To get rid of Vucic. See, they're easy names to pronounce. You see what I mean? When you get colour revolutions and it's all American backed, they actually pay, say like me and you, everybody else, they give us money, put us up in hotels, and then demonstrate, wave a little flag or whatever. And then, get paid handsomely, by the way, come back. It's been proved time and time again during these demonstrations that say they was all foreigners. We don't know who they were. They weren't either Serbian, they weren't Georgian, they weren't Romanian. You see, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. Colour revolutions that they're not agreeing with the Western narrative. It's shocking. It really is shocking what's going on in the world, especially coming from America and the EU. They're all Russophobes, and anyone who agrees with them gets sanctions thrown on them. That von der Leyen has withdrew, or withheld, not withdrew, but withheld millions that should have gone to Orban's Hungary. Orban should be the leader of Europe. What a politician he is. He's unbelievable. It's just crazy. Two-tier Starmer wants to abolish your election. Freaking hell, I said that, myself. I think what he wants is like a sort of a leadership for, say, 10 years, rather than every 5 years having an election. He just wants, we'll do that for 10 years. And I think it will change, the constitution will change in this country, one way or the other, for the politicians, for any political party. The Tories are finished. The Labour Party, whom I voted for all my working life, but no more. See how fundamentally they change like that. There was no way that Jeremy Corbyn could become Prime Minister. No way. And the Redbirds. Why do Saudi and other Islamic countries not allow their own people in? Instead, they want them to overthrow the West, and it's working, unfortunately. Okay. If you look at, let's take Iraq, for example. Let's take Iraq. In the Muslim world, you've got two different entities. You've got the Shias and you've got the Sunnis. Saddam Hussein was a Sunni. Everybody was getting on well. Everybody. Even Christian churches were in Iraq. He even has a Christian in his cabinet, his government cabinet, a fellow named Ali or something like that. And he was in the cabinet. But you know that the war was based on a deliberate lie, and that was to destabilize the whole of the Middle East. So now what you have the Shias, more or less. Look, you've got the Brotherhoods of Egypt as well, the Muslim Brotherhood. And these are powerful nations. But they look, how can I say this without sounding stupid? they look at the Palestinians as nomads. Because don't forget the West, well, there's nowhere. This is why they're fighting now for a two-state solution. Say, okay, we'll give the Palestinians a state, call it Palestine. You see? But the Israelis have been working to that no Palestinians. So they're the nomadic tribes, if you like, of the Middle East, whereas the Middle East are now all powerful countries in their own right. But you look at Syria. Now, Bashar Assad, people think that for years I was telling, like friends or whatever, if anyone mentions Syria, well, did you see the news about that Bashar Assad poisoning people, and hadn't a clue what they were fucking talking about. And you try to tell them, now, these are the same people who think Putin is their tyrant. Has anybody seen it? I haven't seen it. I've just seen it and read a synopsis about Putin. Do you see the image of Putin? It's like, dirty face. And the synopsis, I went, see, a propaganda film out now. And it said, Putin who rules, the tyrant Putin who rules with an iron fist. So that's it about it. So it's things like that. It's, you grow up in these places and they look at the Palestinians and, they say, they're nothing. Like dirt. Egypt won't accept them in. But Jordan wouldn't accept them in. So who's accepting them? Look, if America who's the biggest oil producers is Saudi, right? Believe it or not. Another bigger producer is Syria, and the Yanks have been stealing the oil for years. Bashar Assad said, I want you out. Get out of my country. What are you doing here? He knew what they were doing. They were stealing the oil. Just steal it. And remember the fellas in the white jackets, or the yellow jackets, was it? No, the white jackets. When they had the cameras on them saying, Bashar Assad has barrel bombed these children. And they were putting freezing water on them. These kids were screaming, freezing water on them. Look, they're screaming, and they were rubbing their eyes. You would see with freezing cold water there in your eyes. I only get in the shower and I'm like this. And it was all propaganda. It was all propaganda. Terrible propaganda against Saddam Hussein. Shocking propaganda. And they needed to get rid of these people. And what it was, what president was it? I forget what president it was. And it came, believe it or not, from AIPAC. I'm going back years ago. And the 7 countries. And those 7 countries are all in the Middle East, including Iran. They wanted to take Iran last. Syria, Libya, they wanted to take them all. They wanted to take them all. The poorest country, I was talking about Palestine there. But the poorest country that keeps on getting bombed, even by Saudi Arabia, they've been bombing them for years, is the Yemen. The Yemen has been getting bombed for years. Now the Trump's just started to bomb them. Why? Why? So you see, there's always wars going on. If he takes on the Chinese, he can't take on the Chinese. They're a nuclear power. And believe it or not, they've got better missiles. They've got these supersonic missiles. To say like they, just imagine Taiwan, and the Chinese took Taiwan. It's a part of China. It's a part of China, right? Just like the Falklands are a part of Argentina. That's why I have a little joke about when Simon comes on, starts commenting, especially on the football channel. And I say, he's from Gibraltar, lives in Gibraltar. He's from here, from Liverpool, but he's been living in Gibraltar for years, and that's why I say, give Gibraltar back to the Spanish. Gibraltar is in Spain. Simple as that. Spanish, it's landlocked. It's part of Spain. And I think we took it in 1628 or 1622. And made a base there. So we've had it all this time. This is when we were building an empire. Countries love to build empires, especially America. So anyway, you've got the Middle East, you had all the propaganda against all these leaders. Does anybody know about Gaddafi? Muammar Gaddafi. Gaddafi was very good to his people. He bought them houses if they got married. He gave them a place and gave them the equivalent of 60,000 to start off their families. And when they had children, they got money. That was Gaddafi. And someone asked him, and said, why don't you live in a park? He said, what for? He said, I was born in a tent, and I'll stay in a tent until all my people have a home and not a tent. That's what he said. He was great to his people. But you'd have colour revolutions, as I said. Now, Libya is a total mess, like Iraq. Iraq's a total mess. You might think, well, what about Saudi Arabia? Well, they were looking at Saudi. This is what could happen to you. So they say no. Believe you me. And they can't tell what's real these days. AI is that good, but is also bad in many cases. Redbeard and Myra let go says, have you seen what's going on though in Syria? Honestly, I've seen the footage. I was sick to the stomach of what was going on with ISIS, remember? And I always remember that prat, Billy Connolly, remember it? Comedian. And that Ken Bigley, remember the Liverpool fella? He was working over there, captured by the ISIS. And they said, they wanted something. I think they wanted a ransom or whatever, ISIS. of the British government. And under Thatcher, she always said, we don't deal with terrorists. Because we used to pay like blackmail, wasn't it, really? You know, ransoms, we used to pay them until she said no. And everybody else followed her. We don't talk to the terrorists, every other country, that is. And anyway, Billy Connolly came out in one of his, when he was going around doing this thing, you know, at different theatres. He said, I wish they chopped this Bigley's head off and let's carry on, you know, with normal. But he said, trying to make a joke out of it. And the lad did, have his head chopped off. That's why I've got no time for Connell. A divvy like him. You don't make jokes out of these people who are being held terrified. Imagine, terrified, tied, so that you're actually kneeling up. You can't you can't move. That's how they did it. The way they tied you. And then but as I said, all these leaders, there was propaganda thrown against them, every one of them. So that you and I go, oh yeah, deserves that fella. Wasn't like that at all. You think before 2003, after the Iraqi invasion, was there any problems in the Middle East? The only problems you had was by the Israelis causing wars with the likes of the Lebanon. Who've the Palestinians got to talk for them? Who can speak up for the Palestinians? Have you thought about that? I'm sorry about this. This is this fucking thing I get. Sorry to swear, man. So, tell me. It's always been Israel. And they've always threatened. And they always said, we can start with us. We'll get the Americans. We'll get the big boys. But Israel, unfortunately, have got America under the thumb. Whereas America have got us under their thumb. And as Myra said, AIPAC, you only got to look at who AIPAC are. Absolutely, Redbird. Yeah. Hamas was created, believe it or not, by Israel. They needed an enemy. They created them, then turned the tables. See what I mean? I knew a fella who used to go over. I used to see him. And I seen him one day in Bowl Street. I was going down there. And I said, oh, I knew, I didn't know him as like a mate. I said, well, you man a bevy, you know, nothing like that. Just knew, he knew me, put it that way. He knew me. And he had this, like, you know what? Have you ever seen that Richard Medhurst? He wears that big scarf thing. He has one of them on. And I went, and not jokingly, I just said, are you going to Palestine? That's what I said. And he went, yeah, how did you know? I said, really, are you? He said, yeah. He was a relief worker. He was bringing medical aid and everything to them. I went, go away. How long have you been doing that? He said, oh, about 3 or 4 years now. He said, they've got nothing. He said they've got absolutely nothing, even clothing for children, little books for children. I said, are the English books like? He said, well, little children, little boys and girls who can't read, they just look at the pictures. I think he's dead, that lad. Because everyone got shot, didn't they, by the snipers, no matter who you were. They seen him with one of those scarves on, he'd be well dead. Snipers. Been going on for years. Years. I'm just sick of it. Sick of it. You're decent people. I think I'm a decent person. I hate all this violence. I hate it. I've always hated it. And when you think that it's going on and we're witnessing it, we just witness it. If you're ever on YouTube, try and get on a thing called Murat. Murat. M-U-R-A-T. That shows you what's going on. I used to watch it on there. That Telegram. Fuck. Never again. It's horrendous. This is what I mean about the likes of van der Leyen saying that. Syria. That the good people. Al-Jawani. Showing us true colours last week and the week before. Who's looking after them? Who's looking after all these Christians? Russia. All into the bait. They got them all into their airbase. They got them into their airbase. Said, you're okay now. Don't be worried. You're safe. They feed them, protect them, give them shelter in their airbase. But how long can that go on? It's just horrendous. These are not just Christians, like 90% of them are Christians. But there's Muslims also who don't comply to the rules of Al-Qaeda. And America started that. America. And that was only because Russia, they wanted Russia out of the base in Syria. They just wanted Russia out. You start this, they're bound to get out, and it's still there. America do everything. But it's finishing. It's winding down. People don't believe that. I was listening to Patrick Lancaster, and in Kursk, the Ukrainians were committing war crimes against ordinary civilians. War crimes. And then, you get but they were committing war crimes themselves, Russia. Never heard of it. They're very disciplined. They are very, very disciplined, the Russian soldiers. So what do you think Greenland will collapse? Do you think Denmark was saying to Macron, and Starmer, which sends our troops, yeah, but it's all disintegrated. All that, like the willing, is gone. The willing has gone. Finished. But I just want to know what will happen to Starmer in this country. Macron's finished, but his presidency, is still ongoing. The French hate him. And there's murder, you don't realise that there's murder over there about the immigrants. There's murder in Germany, Sweden, you name it. And like Sweden, for example, and Germany and Austria, it's always the immigrants who have been committing atrocities. I'm talking about murder and rape and things. But you don't hear that on the mainstream news. The MSM, you don't hear it at all. It's only likes of, streams that are coming out with the truth. And you don't hear it at all. They want you to look, the propaganda machine in this country is the BBC. The BBC say everything that the government tells them what to say. But who runs the government in this country? The same as the government that's run in America, the deep state, the neocons, the globalists. They just want to rule the world. That's all that is. I don't, personally, I think I'm a decent historian. And I've read loads of things throughout my time. Documents, all this primary source, everything. From wars, even going back to the Romans, going back to the Middle Ages, medieval times, right through the English Civil War, for example, the Reformation. And when you go right up to the likes of, I mentioned the other night about during the American War of Independence, that we were fighting the Dutch. But we were also fighting the French as well, besides the rebels of, you have to call them the rebels of America. And all these people, crazy, all these people, but we get fed a load of propaganda. Joseph Goebbels says that the greatest propagandist machine is in Britain. And people say he was the greatest of all propagandists. You've only got to look at Shakespeare. There is something rotten in the state of Denmark. Hamlet. What Shakespeare was saying, there is something rotten in the state of England. He couldn't talk about. That's why he did the likes of Macbeth. That's why he did Hamlet and Othello, all these. The Merchant of Venice. That's why he did all this. Because he couldn't talk about this. The only time, so he was having a go. It was hidden. It was hidden. It really was hidden. Like there is something rotten in the state of Denmark. Hamlet had a ghost in it. Well, he was the ghost. He was seeing what was going on in this company. But that was Shakespeare himself. His dad was the ghost in Hamlet. Am I going mad? Then you've got the likes of Macbeth. And when you see what was done in Macbeth, unbelievable. Hidden meanings, the gunpowder plot. Subplot, government subplot. Government subplot. The biggest scapegoat of the 17th century, which is the 1600s, was none other than Guy Fawkes, Guido. Incredible what Shakespeare did. But when he did the histories, he had little meanings then as well. Like Henry V, for example. Take their lives. And they were prisoners. He thought he'd get done for that. Sedition. Thought he'd get done. To say, take their lives. When he killed prisoners. I think it was 27 prisoners. Put them to death. And when he shouted up at a half-flare to the castle. Well, true, And he shouted up, if you don't open the gates, my men will force them open, kill your babies. What did he say? It wasn't like kill the babies as such. Oh, what did they call it? Like when you put a sword through the offer. I think it was like stake your children, your babies and children, and rape the women. Because all the half-flare, the castle of half-flare, all the men was fighting the British, like the English. Fighting the English. So there was only the old men left in the castle. So they opened the gates. And that was good old King Henry V, the boy king. Lovely man. But he was getting that in. Albeit that it was like hidden. Oh, what a wonderful place this is. Good old Henry. Good old Harry. King Harry. So when you read the likes of Shakespeare and his plays, this is what you have. All these hidden meanings. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Life is but a walking shadow. Man, and there's always a spider. You have the great poets, William Blake. Incredible, man. Incredible. My mother groans, my father wept. Into the dangerous world I leapt, helpless, naked, piping loud, like a fiend hid in a cloud. Think about that. A dangerous world, that baby was being born into, of violence, of bloodshed, of murder. Horrible. I love Blake, love Shakespeare, love Dickens, the Brontes, Christopher Marlowe. People think that Christopher Marlowe, he was homosexual. And they were told, that one fellow was told to pick a fight with him in the bar. Somewhere the bar was. The inn. Go and pick a fight with him, kill him. And he did, and he killed him. He was an agent, but he had to go on trial, and he was fined a shilling that the realm paid. He never had to pay. So you see all the skullduggery at that time. All the skullduggery. And this is what you get. We've always had it. Throughout time. I'll be doing something, if you join me. I'll be doing something on the 19th century England. The latter part of the 18th, into the 1700s, into the 1800s, the 19th century. I'll be doing something on that. And how you and our ancestors, well, not my ancestors are from Italy, how they lived. I love poetry, as you know, and there's a poem by Elizabeth Barrett Browning called Aurora Leigh. I love Browning, Robert Browning, I love him, love his poet. And Elizabeth Barrett Browning, great poet in her own right, and she wrote about Aurora Leigh. And Aurora, her dad, Aurora Leigh, 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 or L-I is it? Anyway, he marries an Italian, but he went to live in Italy, and little Aurora was born. And unfortunately, her parents died when she was 10 or 11. And she had to come over and live with her auntie in England. So she came over. Fantastic. She goes to school. She knows more than the teacher. Because what was actually being taught in our schools was the 3 R's. Reading, writing, arithmetic. That was it. That was it. Unless you came from the elite, where you were properly taught. No women could be taught, by the way. They couldn't go to university. Crazy, isn't it? Until Anne Clough from Rodney Street opened up a university at Cambridge. And I'm trying to think of the bloody name and I can't think. That was the very first university for women, from a lady from Rodney Street. She never ever married, neither did her brother. They lived in Rodney Street. Arthur Clough. Arthur Clough was a great poet. He's in the Romantic era, along with Blake. Wordsworth, Browning, the rest of them, Keats. So you see, there's a lot to be thankful for our great writers that tells you stories. That's what's going on. Why do you think Oliver Twist, right? Oliver Twist. Why do you think all of a sudden he came from a middle class family? I'm not spoiling it for you, am I? Because you've read Oliver Twist. But he came from a middle class family. Because, believe it or not, people back then thought that if you're born into a middle class family, you didn't need education. Because in the story, young Oliver spoke with a very fine English accent and could read and he could write. Couldn't he? Very clever. And why he did that, Dickens, was because the middle classes at the time, but he was also putting out social comments of what was happening in the country, what was happening to the poor, and what was happening in workhouses. And he said to me, he said, I had to write him as a middle class simply because the middle classes wouldn't buy the journals because they sort of serialized. It's not serialized, then made into the novel. The great Dickens, love him, love them all, to be honest. Yes, Redbird, George Orwell. As I said about, I've always said, I think you've heard me saying this, he was a great visionary. He knew what was happening. He knew. Big brother. It's happening now to us. Me on there. Me on there. Be seen. People are going, what the fuck's this? Does it bother me? Couldn't care less. I try to put my points over. That's all. I talk about football, as you know. I talk about this, what's going on. I talk about propaganda. The only time you ever got the truth out of anything was about World War I, was in poetry. Because poetry wasn't published until 1929, 1930, right after the war, because no one wanted to know what was going on, especially the press. Shocking. Shocking. And it was the great poets. What passing bells for these who die as cattle? What passing bells for these who die as cattle? Think about that. You even had a Jewish lad, Siegfried Sassoon, and in one of his poems, there's a line, and it was a very striking line. Oh, Jesus, please make it stop. The Jew saying that. of the IBR. I just seen you there, IB. Even in Don Franco, of your spiffing, Notice that? Yes. I'm trying to, I've got his book here, Aldous Huxley. Great visionary. Very nice IBR. Yeah. Aldous, what a name that is, Aldous. You can say, you know, let's be all right, we're not American, but, you know, you couldn't go down the road and go like that. Is Aldous in? Go for a bev. You couldn't say. You can tell what kind of a background he comes from. It's like tasting Holland. Tasting. Hello, Mr. Holland, is Thurston in, please? Who's tasting up? From Rodney Street? Rodney Street. Did he invent the X-ray, Frank? Yeah, that's him. The X-ray. Tasting Holland. See what I mean? The only fella who has, believe it or not, a common name, and he was one of the greatest of all physicists ever, from Liverpool University, was Sir James Woods. Sir Oliver Lodge. Well, oh, what did he do? Oh, he split the atom for Oppenheimer. But he didn't split it over there. Well, he did have to eventually when he went over. He split it here, Liverpool University, where the site of the Catholic Cathedral. So you see. And when you look at the likes of Isambard Kingdom Brunel, I said, I'm going to make a ship out of iron. He said, oh, behave yourself. You make a ship out of iron? You got terrified. A ship of iron. Hundreds of years of sail and wood. Great engineer. Thomas Brasson. Ah, listen, you know, we've got to put some railway up there. I'll do that. Kidding. In India. Yeah, I'll go through the jungles. I'll go through the Rockies. I'll go over France. I'll go down to Australia. Incredible, man. Laying tracks. Sir Douglas Fox and James Grayton. What can you do for us? I can put a railway in the sky. Oh, behave yourself. This fella. Yeah, put a railway in the sky. He put the very first electrified railway in the world in the sky. We know it as the Docker's umbrella. Best in the world. Thomas Stairs, a Dutchman, we sent for him. What can you do for us? Because we were terrified in case people, you know, these ships coming in, we only had a little pier. Unloading stuff and sending them off. And they were, oh, can you do anything for us? He said, yeah, all right. Came up, built the very first wet dock in the entire world. And we needed to get over, that was in 1715 it opened. Then you think in this city here in 1565. It took a hurricane known as the Great Storm, not a hurricane, but known as the Great Storm, blew away everything. And John Cross, the mayor at the time, said, "Stay with me, please. Stay with me. Don't go away," because there was deaths. There was terrible injuries, no houses, people were homeless. He said, "Stay." And we built Liverpool from stone. You weren't allowed to. You weren't allowed to. But we built it. So by 1566, we became the very first stone township. We became the very first paved town. John Leland, first thing ever written about Liverpool was in 1537. Right? Fucking hell, I'm not walking in mud. I'm walking on stone. It's paved. That's what he wrote. Leopold Liverpool. That's what he said. Leopold alias Liverpool, the first paved town. Oh no, not the first. A paved town. No one else had it. Except us. (1537). And he was staying in the first grammar school in the Northwest. The very first grammar school in the Northwest here in Liverpool. Well, it wasn't here, it was in Bolton. And have a guess who used to teach there? Not at the time. Not at the time. But he's there. Used to teach there though. We need it. Someone said, "Listen, lads, we need a tunnel. We need a tunnel or a big bridge. We can't have a big bridge because of all the liners coming up and down the river. What's the matter with you? What can we do then to get over there?" Hang on. How about doing a tunnel under the Mersey? They went, "Up here, it can be done." And they did it. The very first tunnel underwater in the entire world, and everybody copied. Everybody copied the dock system. Everybody. The very first passenger railway system in the world. Think about that. We here in Liverpool, from the first weapon of mass destruction, splitting of the atom, to the second weapon of mass destruction. You didn't know that, did you? And we made it. And it wasn't the Orishnik that the Russians have got now. Do you know what it was? Shall I tell you? It wasn't the X-ray. No, it wasn't the X-ray. It wasn't the splitting of the atom. The second one. Weapon of mass destruction. And that was Liverpool Football Club. 6 European Cups. 6! That was our weapon. Liverpool's weapon of mass destruction. Going around Europe, going around the country. We're the boys. IBR. The new anti-free speech law is now enforced, so talking about these subjects will probably get us locked up. The anti-freeze. Can't see. No. The new anti-free speech law is now enforced, So talking about these subjects will probably get us locked up, Frank. Won't get you locked up because they won't know who you are. Will get me locked up. We gave the world so much, and look how they treat us. What is it? Feed the scousers. We gave the very first reinforced steel, concrete building in the world. The very first, the Americans went, whoa, we're going to have some of that. Let's get some of that. But we also gave them the very first iron structure building in the world. Iron. And that was in 1814. You know, you mightn't think that they're not important. Very important. Because they only use wooden infrastructure until a fellow by the name of John Cragg, who owned the Mersey Iron Foundry, was approached by his mate. And he said, listen, I've just got the commission to do a church. He said, but I don't want to use wood. I need something strong to hold it in place. Because where I'm building it, it's on a hill. He went, what do you want me to do? He said, I want you to have a look at the design and see what you can do to the inside with your iron. And he went, all right. And he did it. And the very first building, I passed it today, funny enough. I passed it today with my daughter, Francine. And it's St. George's Church in Everton. First building in the world to use an iron infrastructure. And the very first reinforced steel building in the world, concrete reinforced, is the Liver building. So Thomas Rickman, the church, the architect, and John Cragg, his mate, the iron infrastructure. Incredible. And Aubrey Thomas, the Liver. We've given the world so much. So much. One of the greatest of all philanthropists. This is my opinion, this, by the way. Albeit he wasn't a Scotsman. And that was David Lewis. David Lewis. From Lewis's store. He built a theatre. He built 2 hospitals, the Northern and the Royal Surrey. The Northern Hospital. That's where I used to go to. You know, because I came from North Liverpool, South Liverpool. I'll tell you all about it. Be proud of your city. Take no bull from anybody. Because we are a great city with great people. We have our bad people as well, as you know. But we're a great city. Great architecture. Great inventors. One fella from the top of Bold Street, did the very first electrified grid when he lit up half of London. And his name was Paolo Ferranti, top of Bold Street, the son of Italian migrants. And his building's still there, his house where he grew up was the townhouse. And I'm going to end on that. We gave the world so much, and look how they treat us. And the IBR to the Redbird. It's the toxic left who hate their own ancestors and culture. I love that quote, what you just said, or comment. Look, I'm not bothered about England, really. That culture died with me when, as the Redbird said, we gave the world so much and look how they treat us. That's why I wanted to make an ambition of mine. To show the world what we wanted to do. And I might do it from well enough this year, but I can only do it in Liverpool. I don't think I'll be able to travel. But I'm only doing it in Liverpool. Liverpool is the focal point. Well, they're all focal points. But I don't think I'll be able to make it to a couple of different countries. I don't think my health will put me in good stead for it. I don't think I could afford the insurance, to be honest. But I'll still be able to do it. And hopefully, I've got the lads in place. I need a drone, you see. Got him in place. He got hold of me. He should have done it like he apologised for last year. Know what I mean? But I will do the ambition. I've always sorted. And it's going to be good. It's going to be good. And you'll go, that's it. Dylan. I'll come and visit you in the Clink Franco. Wonder who else will visit me. I think there'll be queues down at, around the block going, yeah. We've enjoyed it tonight. I know I went off the beaten track and always read your poetry, boys. I had this. Brilliant. And all it's about, not poetry alone, it's about messages that lads had written, on notepaper and things like that. There's all the, they're all the, on both sides, all handwritten notes. Incredible. All handwritten notes. trying to show you something here just before I go. Just seeing it a minute ago. You can't. Couldn't see it. But let me see. This is what these lads gave up. But one day I'll read you some of the notes. And it really is shocking. Really is shocking. So listen, boys and girls, it's been a great pleasure. As you know, the IBR says they found an iron forged sword in Egypt that's been dated over 5,000 years. Wow. Wow. Well, when they're carbon copying, they're not getting the exact things right, you know. What they actually do is it's like the pyramids. You know, first of all, they say that they were, like, I'm going back 3,000 years old, then I went up to 5, then 6. Now they're saying it's 10,000 years. But mind you, you know, swords and that have been found in these pyramids and daggers and things. And on that note, I'll see you all tomorrow. If you join me, you're not going to Grady Market. But anyway, tomorrow morning at, now you might think that I've got something in my eye. Do you know what it is? When you see me itching or doing this, I'm itching, even my eyelids. It's horrible. When I go to bed, it's shocking. You're just lying there, then all of a sudden you've got like, fuck. I'm going through it, boys. And just for me to say, thanks for joining me tonight. It's really been good. Thank you for keeping me company. And I hope to see you all tomorrow. Or when am I doing the next one? I'm doing a football one, believe it or not. I don't know whether it's next Thursday or Monday. No, it's Tuesday. I'm doing one on Tuesday, the football one, until the following week when we're back to normal. So we'll see you all on, you know, some of these tomorrow. If not, see you Tuesday. 7 o'clock as usual on Tuesday. Then I've got the history show the next day. Thank you so much. See you all soon. Wonderful comments, by the way. Thank you so much. Bye now. Ciao, video.